if people knew how the system works, the system would be over tomorrow. That's just the reality. And it was Henry Ford, I think, that said it 100 years ago. He basically said, like, if people understood the banking system, there'd be riots by the morning. And that's literally what it is. If people understood how money worked and how to manage debt properly and how to take some debt out of a higher paying interest and put it into a lower paying interest and all this stuff, it's the whole game is designed to keep people in the dark, so they just continuously get tricked by it. And that's the extraction. They're extracting value without providing any value. It's all just smoke and mirrors tricks that they've benefited from for a long time. And Bitcoin, to me, flips the table on that whole thing.
And I think Wer hoeft die Fluven? I have no clue how to pronounce that one. Says it really nicely. He says, the devil needs your permission to do his work on you. I mean, I read that and I loved it so much because it's, we always say like, oh, the system is so evil. This is so bad. There's always so much complaining. But if you actually pay attention and actually like see what's going on, you see that you have a lot of options. You can opt out of most systems that are evil. Most systems, you're like, I'm good to go. Like, I'm going somewhere else. Even people say like, oh, but taxes and this and that. Like, move. There are places where you pay less taxes. You can have a setup where you pay almost no taxes. So it's like, no matter what you complain about, they are most likely, it's not 100%, but most likely there's some situation where you can get out of it if you spend the energy not in complaining about it, but in actually solving for that. And if you solve it for yourself, chances are you might actually be able to solve it for others and get way more freedom through that. But that's a whole nother thing. But I love that because it flips the responsibility away from, oh, the system is evil, this is evil, it's wrong, to like, hey, there's a solution. And that's why I also like, even though like I think the banking system is very evil and all of those, but I like actually spending more time on going over with individuals why they need Bitcoin and not as much time on like, here, the banking system is evil. You have to show it that it's evil and have to show like what's wrong with it. But the most time should always be spent on like, what is the solution? Like, what can we do against it? And where are we actually going? So I love that. I love that comment. Just want to point it out because it's very true.
So good. So good. Well, we could go down these rabbit holes for hours. That's for sure. And we'll have to dive more into this because this is the incentives of the system are structured this way, and we're not going to be out of this fight for a little while. So we're going to have time to talk about it and fight about it, debate it.
Yeah, I just want to say shout out to the chat today. There's some really good comments in there. I really hope that at some point in the future we can have kind of everybody in one spot. That's kind of our end goal here, is to have everybody on one channel, so we're not in 6 different containers. So just in case people haven't done it yet, have we even shared this yet?
Last week, I think we did once. Yeah.
And there was actually quite a few people who jumped over there. Yeah, 200 people. Love that.
Wow.
We are soon at 200 subscribers, which is awesome. So if you guys, I've put it already in my chat. I can put it again. Just like go to youtube.com/@BTC Mastermind. It's now we're getting so popular that if you search it, it also pops up at like within the first 5 things that pop up. Before you had to scroll like a lot. But yeah, like this is where it's will be 100%. Like streamed all the time, and I think long term we'll probably move everything to there, but it will take some time for people to like see this channel and put it out. We are also working on the background on clips and all of that. This will help just the discovery of the channel and keep on developing in maybe also the graphics, because this is just like me spending some time in AI and putting everything together. And
good. I'm not gonna lie.
You like it?
It's really cool. Yeah, I like it. It's cool.
Then I might not. I might not have. I might not change it. Yeah, that's the only thing. Like, who voted Robin in the middle? That was my AI.
We did. We gave him the power to do this stuff, and he's been killing it. So shout out to Robin for doing all this stuff in the background. Well, I mean, the 5 of us are pretty busy fellas, both with family and what we're trying to do here. And it would be almost impossible for us to do this without somebody kind of taking the reins of things and just having things ready to go. So
Yep.
I would have voted Robin to be the middle guy myself, because he's been killing it behind the scenes.
I didn't want to be the middle guy.
No. But I just want to follow up with one last thing here on this conversation, because, we talked about needing permission, or you voluntarily going into the system and just playing by the rules because it's easier to do, it's comfortable. I still think without Bitcoin, even if you chose to opt out and moved, or, took the harder path, I still think that you would have been caught. And the thing for me about Bitcoin is it just gives you the ability to speak freely. It gives you the ability to opt out of that system that I don't think anything else allows for. And, we talk about stretch all the time. It's a pretty powerful thing, but again, Bitcoiners are the biggest beneficiaries of that, because it's consistent buy pressure. It's demand, consistent demand in a good way. But you can't take stretch across a border and cash that out on the other side of it. So in this world of uncertainty, I think that the Bitcoin for me is the real FU here. Stretch is cool, yeah. But even Robin mentioned it. You're trading 11.5% for what, 30, 40, 50, 500? We have no idea how high Bitcoin's going to go. Stretch is kind of like, to me, having a job where you have a cap on how much you can make. Bitcoin's like, you hit your ride of that thing, who knows where it goes to. It could fail, but it could also go to the moon. So it's a good idea to have a little bit of both, maybe in the meantime, while you're kind of sorting this out. But Bitcoin is the asset that you want. It's the asset that frees you from that system. And I don't think there's anything more powerful overall than having the underlying asset, which is 12 words in your head, and just being able to do whatever you want, say whatever you want, and not have to fear about somebody taking your life. Because even in that world, the only way to ensure that somebody doesn't get those 12 words from your head is to take your life, which is also very powerful.
And I want to iterate that point from like the difference between 10 and 30%. I'm not 100% sure about the numbers now. I make it out off the top of my head. I did the math like about 2 weeks ago or so. Between 10 and 30% CAGR over 10 years, if you put 100K in, the difference is you getting, I think it was like 250,000 versus you getting like 2.5 million or something like that. So it's not over 10 years, having the difference between 10 or 30% is a lot of money. Like, it's not a little bit. It's not like, oh yeah, I get a little bit extra pushes. Like, instead of 250, get like 300,000. It's like a massive load of money between getting 10% and getting 30% a year. Like it's a completely different game. And as Joe said, who says it's 30%? Maybe it's 40, maybe it's 50, because who knows where inflation is going? Because the one thing with stretch is you're in the US dollar denomination. They keep it at 100, but the 100 doesn't stay 100. That's the main thing.
That even applies to gold. I know Jor has seen this before, but have you guys seen the supply with gold versus Bitcoin? If you
Like
have
projections based on the inflation,
based on like the 2% growth rate.
Oh yeah, that's nuts. Yeah, show that.
We see, like, we all think that, oh, gold is scarce. We think that Robin, do you mind sharing my screen? So we think that gold is scarce. We think that this is the best asset in the world. It's been around for thousands of years. But like, I guess a little bit of what Robin was saying, if you just hold on to dollars, eventually those dollars are just going to melt, and they're going to be worth less than whatever you paid for them. So the values is going to keep dropping and dropping. But it's the same thing with gold. It's just that gold does it slower, right? So let's say, for example, if you held 20% of the total supply of gold, and let's say the total supply of gold was 100 ounces in total, that's all that exists. The supply of gold keeps increasing by 2% per year. So after 35 years, you can see, after 35 years, your percentage holding of the gold supply has halved. It's gone down by half because the supply of gold has doubled after 35 years. After 100 years, I mean, you might be thinking, oh, this doesn't matter to me because I don't plan to live for another 100 years and hold on to my gold. The point is, let's say, for example, if you want to pass it down to your kids, you'd be passing down 2.7% of the total supply of gold. You went from 20% to 2.7%. And then another 100 years, so let's say you want to make this a generational wealth portfolio, You went from having 20% of the total supply of gold all the way down to 0.3%, just because people are finding more and more gold. Like they're just extracting value from your portfolio essentially, and they're giving it to themselves. That's what this is, right? And if this is very similar to fiat in the fact that the supply of gold can be increased. Of course, it's a much slower increase in supply, but the point here is that the supply can be increased. And no matter how much gold you have 20% today, even if you had 100% of it today, eventually your 100% goes all the way down to 1.9%. That's crazy to me.
Wow. I mean, Saylor talks about this all the time, but he mixes it with 10 other analogies in the same 2 minutes there. But he says like it's 60-year lifespan at 2%. And I mean, the crazy thing is like somebody decides that there's a 2% inflation, like some entity out there says, hey, I mean, it also based on demand, but that's the other thing too, is like if there was enough demand for gold, that inflation might even go higher, right? Like
Yeah.
who's writing the rules to say that it's 2% forever? If everybody wants gold, we could just go find more gold, and that goes to 3% or 4%, and then it turns into 30 years instead. But
that's crazy. I've never I never realized that. Roger, thank you so much for showing me that. That actually is a really good argument against gold. Like that, I've never heard that, and I've listened to listening to gold versus Bitcoin debates was my orange pilling. Like Peter Schiff, Eric Forhers, like even later, but I already was orange pilled. Listening to Michael Saylor against like the Frank Giostra kind of guy. This is like this is really cool, and for me also very entertaining. By the way, I would love Rashad versus Peter Schiff. I think this would be this could be very fun. To see that debate, but like that's a freaking awesome argument. Like I've never done the math on that, but that's like 100 years, 200 years going down. This is like if you really want to build generational wealth, like Bitcoin is the only option.
Yeah, gold, like no gold bug is ever going to tell you this. I've never heard a gold bug talking about this. They've never said, oh, yeah, the supply of gold only goes up by 1.7%. People just assume, oh, the amount of gold that we have is what we have. But over time, we're getting better at finding gold. Like in the last, I don't know if you guys know about this, but in the last 75 years, we found 2/3 of the gold that ever existed. So the thousands of years before that, only 33% of the gold was mined. And the last 75 years, we found 2/3 of it. That just means like we're getting better at finding gold. So even if you have gold, like it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if the inflation rate is more than 0, you are eventually going to get screwed.
Now imagine AI and robotics in finding gold and space travel like that. Like that, it will completely like this.
Sorry, Robert. I would say Robert Kiyosaki, they just found a massive gold mine. They just took public because of AI. They 3D mapped the underground, and like a mine from like the 49er days, whatever, like in 1849, they missed the vein, of course, by like, 3 yards or something like that. And it's like one of the biggest in history in Utah or Nevada or something like that. So just in the last year or two, to your point. Who
would have predicted that?
Yeah. Who could have seen that coming?
Nobody knows.
Yeah.
Nobody knows where the gold is. Nobody has any. We just know that we have this amount of gold. We have like it could double next year for all we know. Right? Like Elon Musk could,
or triple.
Exactly. He could Elon Musk could scale up his Tesla or SpaceX, and they could go into space and they can bring gold back. And there's going to be enough people who are willing to, just like the dollar, right? The dollar is going to 0. People can see it if they Google it, but they don't want to. Same thing happens with gold. Like the people who are hoarding gold in their safes, they're just exit liquidity. That's it.
It is wild because it's like in no real shape. I mean, the only thing I can see is like, again, if an asteroid hits the Earth and like we're just all, whatever, 95% of us are gone, and like you're just like in a local tribe, like me, okay, gold and silver could work, just like local. You got the gold, okay, I know you have it, Yapstones style, maybe, something like that. Like, okay, sure, but like if that's your base case, then okay, like that's sure, great. But I would imagine we're probably gonna have global society, global community. And there's only one way. There's 2 types of money. It's physical tokens or it's a ledger. And you better have a ledger that no one can F with. And that's the only option for global community, period. There's 0 way around that.
And when you think about like the inheritance side of this too, like you can actually take the private keys and you can put it into a private trust, and you can set a time lock on that, so you don't really have to trust anybody, any person with holding the gold or storing it somewhere. But like just imagine a family out there who had this generational wealth, let's call it $1 billion, and you wanted to keep it in something. I know it's pretty good diversified in different parts, but you're still, when you pass on, you have no ability to control what happens after that. With Bitcoin, you do. You can actually program that money to a certain block height in time, and because of how Bitcoin works, you can reliably know that that's actually going to play out. But if you had $1 billion worth of gold that you're protecting, and all of a sudden the town knows that you died, where do you think everybody's going to go loot your house because it's full of $1 billion worth of gold? How do you protect that? You need tanks and guns and weapons. But with Bitcoin, you don't need that. You just need to be able to disperse it in different parts. And people think that the inability to touch Bitcoin is a problem. It's actually its superpower in that way, because no matter how big your gun is, you can't take my Bitcoin because it's in many different parts of the world here, and taking me out does nothing. So with gold, again, it's your gold until somebody more powerful comes along and takes it from you. With Bitcoin, nobody has the ability to do that, no matter how big their gun is.